Alright, today I've got a gun for you guys that I've really been meaning to get around to reviewing. Quite some time now, actually. The problem is I get a little sidetracked from time to time. One thing comes up, I get distracted, and months later I realize, that's right, I forgot to do the thing. Alright, so HK has been in the gun game for a very long time. I think we all associate the name HK with high-quality German guns that come with an even higher price tag. When I hear the name HK, the first thing that comes to mind is the MP5. Okay, so this is a clone, but let's not split hairs here. If you've ever watched any 80s action movie, you know what I'm talking about. These things were in every movie back then, and they're pretty much one of the most awesome guns that there is. HK's made a handful of different pistols, including the USP series, which also happens to be one of my all-time favorite handguns. They're high quality, they shoot great, I mean, I just love them. Today, though, it's all about the VP9. Ergonomically, the VP9 is one of the most comfortable polymer pistols I've ever used. It does come with a handful of grip panels, both for the sides and the rear, that can be swapped out to get just the right fit depending on what your hand size is. Normally I'd trash on a gun that had finger grooves. I've never liked them. Glocks especially, they're awful. But for whatever reason, the way that HK did theirs turned out really well. My hands are medium-ish, and I find that they're actually just where they should be. I don't know how it is that Glock got them so wrong, but HK seemed to be able to get finger grooves just right. Now the texture on these grip panels and the finger grooves, it isn't bad. Some guns, like the M&P 2.0, the texture that's on the grip is so aggressive that when you're conceal carrying and that grip is rubbing up against your skin, it'll literally rub you raw. Your shirt will go ahead and stick to it like it was Velcro or something. That's not the case with HK's VP9. Also, they're not so smooth that you have to worry about feeling like they're going to be slippery. It's actually a great balance of texture when it comes to this gun and the way that they put the grip together. Just like pretty much every other gun that's on the market, they do have ambidextrous slide release. For the right-handed shooter, the slide release over there actually feels pretty good. The left-handed slide release is a little weird. It's, you know, a long, flat bar. It seems a little strange. I'm not left-handed, so I really can't say good or bad on that, but it seems decent. The serrations on the slide are pretty good. I personally, if I were designing it, which, you know, I'm not an engineer, but I would have went just a little deeper with those slide serrations. I mean, they do the job, but I mean, come on, HK, you can do better than that. Now on the rear side of this slide, HK has added these plastic, what the hell, I don't even know what the hell we're supposed to call them. They've got these plastic tabs that are actually supposed to aid in making it easier to pull the slide back during slippery conditions. Let's see if we can maybe get a little view of those. They're plastic, they're cheap looking, they're cheesy, and to be perfectly honest, I don't see any use in them. I know it's supposed to, you know, be a backup to the slide serrations, but I think they're kind of bullshit. You know, HK's got this whole media campaign that I find hilarious, where they make fun of people who complain about the price of their weapons as being poor, but then they turn around and they add these Walmart-esque plastic tabs to the VP9, and they're not even secure. I mean, I can literally pop these up and down by hand. HK could have milled these into the slide so that they were metal if they really felt like, you know, they had a place on this gun, but instead they cut a couple of slots there, slipped a little cheap piece of plastic in it, and called it a day. Big fail, HK. Big fail. HK literally could have left these tabs off of the design altogether and nobody would have noticed the difference. So this one came stock with night sights. They're not too bad, actually. Now, I don't have much use for night sights. I've said it in several videos already that I think they're kind of gimmicky. As far as the night sights that HK put on these, you know, the dots are pretty big. I will say this, when they've been sitting out and they've got a full charge, when you go into low light conditions, those big dots are nice and bright. So it's not like some of the aftermarket ones out there where the dots are kind of small, a little bit dim, you know, just totally worthless. These ones really, as far as night sights go, they're not too terrible. You know, it does have an accessory rail, so realistically I would put a weapon light on it and rely on that over night sights. Something I do really like about this gun is the oversized trigger guard. If you like to shoot with gloves on, you're not going to have any issues getting a glove in there. You know, a lot of states, it's so cold in the wintertime, Washington included, you know, we go out to do outdoor shooting, and after a few minutes your fingers start going numb. So it's kind of nice to be able to throw a pair of gloves on and still actually be able to operate your weapon. While we're here, the trigger does have a blade style trigger safety, very reminiscent of the Glock. The trigger feels pretty smooth. I've definitely fired worse. I'd say that as far as the trigger goes, this trigger feels smoother than a stock M&P, so there's something there. HK's website says that these guns have like a 5.5 pound trigger. I've went ahead and ran, you know, a couple dozen trigger pulls with my gauge, and I'm consistently getting just a little over 3 pounds. So who knows? While we're down in the trigger area, let's talk about the one part of the gun that I seriously can't get on board with. The ambidextrous paddle style magazine release is probably the most awkward mag release I've ever used. I put quite a bit of time into practicing with this paddle style mag release, and honestly I can't seem to swap mags without seriously breaking my grip. I mean, I can bring my trigger finger down and activate it from here, but most guns you use your thumb, and so to get your thumb onto it you really have to kind of get it around and tag that paddle. I don't like it. I think if there were one thing that would make me jump into a time machine and go back to that pivotal moment where the cashier said, go ahead and swipe your card to pay for this gun, and would actually make me take that credit card, put it back in my pocket, turn around and walk away, that's the one thing. It's the mag release. It wouldn't be so bad if they would have added a traditional style thumb operated mag release, but this paddle is bullshit. It's literally the worst thing ever. Given the chance to do it all over again, I seriously would not buy this gun strictly because of the mag release. Now I know there's some professional shooters out there that are using the VP9 in competitions. And so, you know, they're getting thousands of hours of training in. You know, literally that's all they do is shoot this gun. So yeah, they can do fast mag changes with it, but for the average shooter who's just going to pick up the gun and use it, it's awkward, it's clunky, it's in a weird spot. I wouldn't recommend it at all just based on that. Back to the positives, HK did include 2 15-round mags with this gun. They sit in there pretty nice, and there is a little bit of a cutout down at the base so that if you do have some sort of failure, you can grab a hold of that base pad and yank it free. Now, as expected with HK, these mags do feed reliably. The whole gun works reliably. Honestly, it shoots nice and smooth. Let's just pause on my hatred for the mag release button or paddle. The gun runs well. It's accurate, it's reliable, it's comfortable in my hand, it's relatively flat shooting. I mean, it's really not bad for a gun straight out of the box with no modifications. So you may already know this, but 90% of the time when I leave the house, this is my go-to gun. This is my Floyd's Custom Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, and I love it. Anytime I get a new gun, this is what I compare it to, because as far as in the hand and shooting, this, for me, this is one of the best guns that's out there. So both the M&P and the VP9 have roughly 4-inch barrels, a little under, a little over. When you hold them side by side, what you end up with is approximately half an inch difference in the slide, making the VP9 just a little bit longer. No big deal, really. As far as grip length goes, mind you, the M&P does have the Floyd's magwell on it, but when we line the slides up, I was not prepared for this. When we line the slides up, you can see both guns are roughly the same as far as grip length. So when it comes to concealability, the VP9 is going to conceal for me roughly exactly the same as my Floyd's Custom M&P. So far, I haven't found any advantage to the VP9 over the M&P. You know, with them being relatively the same size, same capacity. I've got 15 round mags for both. I mean, with the traditional thumb mag release on the M&P, my mag changes are faster. Plus I've got a magwell on there, so they're going to be smoother. So, I mean, this ends up being the one that I grab when I leave the house. So the question of the day is, would I recommend the VP9? Probably not. It's a good gun, don't get me wrong. Considering though that it is right about $200 over the price of an M&P, has the world's most awkward mag release, and the market for aftermarket parts and holsters is shaky at best, I just don't think that it's for everybody. There are parts out there to upgrade this gun, and yes, there are companies that are making holsters for it. The problem with oddball type guns, guns like the VP9, guns like the IWI Masada, is that because they're not mainstream, because there aren't, you know, hundreds of thousands of them out there in the hands of people, you're not going to find a shit ton of aftermarket parts and holsters. Yes, you can find aftermarket stuff for these guns, but realistically, you're going to pay a little bit more. You're going to have to look a little bit harder, and who knows if they're going to have exactly what it is that you're looking for. I don't even think Apex makes a trigger for the VP9. For me, I see that as a huge disadvantage. If you're looking for a gun that you can go ahead and primarily keep in the safe, take it out every couple of months to the range, throw a couple boxes of ammo through it, take it home, put it right back in the safe, I mean, this gun's probably going to be pretty good for you. If you're looking to get into a new gun for concealed carry, daily carry use, in my mind, the VP9 just isn't the gun for that purpose. All right, that's it. That's all I got today. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. Hope everybody's washing their hands regularly and covering their mouth when they cough and sneeze. I'll be back next weekend with another video for you.